people not only in Niger State but also.
Still a chance for Ian Robin. It's
let him shoot. No problem.
Gallery TV. I'm Eleje Chidima. This morning we'll be going to the major headline as always, as published by Nigerian dailies today, 11th of May 2022. With me this morning, we'll be starting with the major headline on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. It has a major headline story that says, Senate amends Electoral Act to allow President, others vote as party congresses. Primaries. Reps to hold emergency plenary today. 32 CSOs insist on resignation of political office holders. That's on page 5 on the Tribune newspaper this morning. Above the major headline, we have a story on 2023, while Lawan is in the race, ripples in PDP over his ambition. That's on page 8. On page 27 and 23, we have a story, Senate to intervene in ASU strike. NANS begin mass protest, vow to grant Nigerians economy, political activities. That's the story above the major headline. We have a side story on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper this morning. INEC says no as 18 political parties seeks extension of deadline for primaries. That's on page 5. Still on page 8, there is a story there that says 100 million naira form. APC devastating public fund, PDP alleges. Wants movement of money in MDAs monitored. Jonathan not a member, APC Bayelsa chairman says. That's on page 2. On page 6, we have a story, fierce scarcity may linger unless federal government pays marketers bridging claims. This coming from IP Man. That's on page 6. On page 26, we have 4 teachers arraigned over Chrisland Dubai sex saga. By the side of the front page picture, we have a story also that says Buhari won't extend his tenure. That's coming from presidency. Says Afe Babalola called for interim government ignores democratic rights. That's on page 35. Southern governors won't share position in our power shift, says Sonwolu. That's all we can take from the Nigerian newspaper this morning. The next with me is the Sun newspaper. The Sun newspaper has a major headline. It has a major headline that says, "Our Senate bars ministers others from voting at party congresses primaries." Senate bars ministers others from voting at party congress and primaries. OK's presidents, governors others to vote in Electoral Act amendment. Reps to hold emergency section today on same amendments. That's on page 6 on the Daily Sun newspaper. Above we have a story, 2023 Obasanjo, Adebanjo, others endorse Southeast for presidency. Ohaneze lobby group pushes harder. That's on page 8. Below we have a side story, Emefiele's presidential interest raises dust in INEC. Electoral Commission to cancel strategic ties with CBN, rejects request for adjournment of election timetable. That's on page 6 and 27. NANS issue federal government asks you 9-day autonomy to open public universities. Threatens to shut down Niger Bridge, Enugu, Imo, Anambra Airport. That's on page 27. Court bars PDP, INEC from using results of aborted ad hoc delegates list in Imo. Akwa Ibom APC crisis. They refuse to withdraw appeal. That's on page 26 on the Daily Sun newspaper this morning. Taking us to the next, the Daily Independence newspaper that has a major headline that says APC, PDP, others ask INEC to adjust 2023 election timetable. APC, PDP, others ask INEC to adjust 2023 election timetable. That's the major headline on the Daily Independence newspaper this morning. You can get the story, the paper, and read the full story of that, or join us at 12 for the updates. Above the major headline, we have a story: Senate will bring back federal government as to negotiation table, says Lawal. Insecurity in South is not targeted at headers, says Maitiala. That's the story above the major headline on Daily Independent. Below we have a story: as Senate amends Electoral Act, makes elected officials party delegates. That's on page 7. On page 6, we have a story there that says 20th century presidency. If Jonathan runs, it will be wonder of the century, says Umahi. PDP decide fate of presidential aspirants today. That's on page 7 on the Daily Independent. We have another major headline on the Daily Independent: 2023 presidency. It is the turn of Southeast, says Obasanjo at the Banjo. 35,000 people killed in Northeast in a decade, says the report. 2.5 people displaced. Nigerian to earn 663 billion naira annual medical tourism, says federal government. And COASU threatens strike after expiration of 21-day ultimatum. That's on page 6 on the Daily Independent newspaper. On the Punch newspaper, we have a major headline that says Jonathan's backers seek consensus, South APC aspirants disagree. Jonathan's backers seeks consensus, Southern APC aspirants disagree. That's on page 2. 38 presidential aspirants obtain form as sale ends. Under contestant joins race. Jonathan's candidacy tough to sell. Governor Umahi Ekiti Swaga wants APC. Sorry about that. GG is welcome. He can contest on APC platform. That's coming from Castina and Bayelsa chairman. That's the major headline on the Punch newspaper. Above we have a story: bank loan to government rise to 16.32 trillion, says CBN. That's on page 26. Refineries probe, preps kick as Kyrie keeps mum on oil swap deal. Senate amends Electoral Act, rep reconvene today. That's on page 8 and 38 on the Punch newspaper this morning. On page 7, we have a story: federal government has to resume talk Monday. Students continue protest. Telecost proposed tax review, others to avoid 40% tariff hike. That's on page 28. On page 20, we still have a story: Nigerian 10 ECOWAS countries in debt distress. That's a report. Below we have another story up here that says 2023 INEC insists on June 3rd as 18 parties demand primaries deadline extension. That's on page 2. Nigerians paper mills collapse. Import hits 297 billion naira in 6 months. That's on page 19. On page 20, we have San threaten 1,000 case and guest Emefiele. CNPP demands sacking. Lagos begin crackdown on defective structures. Demolish 3-story building. That's on page 28. Below we still have a story: Obasanjo Adebanjo supports Southeast presidency, says Ohaneze. That's on page 7. On page 4 and 5, we have Biz woman accuses Olupian of football trial fraud. Lawyer denies claim. Akeredolu plans 350 additional men, operational vehicle for Omotekun. That's on page 9. I think that's all we'll take from the Punch newspaper this morning. Taking us to next, the New Telegraph. The New Telegraph have a major headline that says President on Party Congress primaries, says President NAS members, governors, others to vote. As Senate amends the Electoral Act, reps to hold plenary on same issue today. That's on page 3 and 7 on the New Telegraph newspaper this morning. Above we have diesel telecost connect to public grid as running costs near 300 billion naira. Financial commitments up from 8.8 billion. Below we have still above we have 2023 little known nomadic pastoral group says it bought form for Jonathan. We want debt conciliation, not relief, says Bajambia Mela. It's wrong to charge 2 million US dollar for presidential form. For presidential form when GDP is 2,000. That's coming from Mimiko. Tenor elongation May 29 handover sacrosanct presidency replies Clark Babalola. Sorry about that. Babalola. Okay, he said tenor elongation May 29 handover sacrosanct presidency replies Clark Babalola. That will take us below. We have a side story on ASU. Labour threatened to join strike over federal government ineptitude as urges education Labour ministers to resign. NANS protests as Senate order intervene. IPPIS NASU SANU protests present own payment system to federal government. We have another major headline. 2023 INEC parties disagree on review of election timeline. That's all we can take from here. The next is the Vanguard newspaper with a major headline that says on 2023 presidency, Jonathan makes a U-turn on APC ticket. Jonathan makes a U-turn on APC ticket. You can get the full story of that on page 5 on the Vanguard. Above, Army denies pampering repentant terrorists. 2023, there will be no credible election unless it's coming from Bishop Kuka. Party primary senator amends the Electoral Act to allow president, NANS members, governors, others to vote. That's all we can take above on the Vanguard. We have a side story. Primaries, APC, PDP, 16 others demand 37-day extension of INEC June 3rd deadline. That's on page 8. On page 7, we have a story. Court nullifies AGF's committee on sales of disposal of recovered assets. We have another major headline. 2023 presidency should go to Southeast. This is coming from Obasanjo and Fale. That you can get the full story of that on page 10 and 20. The last paper with me this morning is the Guardian newspaper. The Guardian newspaper has a major headline that says that's on 2023 PDP may dump zoning as NEC meets over autumn's reports. Concern mounts over appointment of convention planning committee. Court orders speedy hearing of suits challenging PDP primaries. Umahi, if Jonathan joins APC, it will be one of the wonders of this century. That's the major headline of the Guardian newspaper. I'll have a side story. TOC threatened action over ASU strike as COED workers issue 21-day ultimatum. That's on page 3. On page 8, you have a story. 18 political parties seeks extension of deadline for primaries. INEC rejects plea, insist on June 3rd. Political parties and obscene money politics. PDP running a distant third in Ekiti governorship poll, says Xavier. Afenifere condemns Emifele involvement in politics, request for restraining order. That will bring us to the end of today's newspaper headline review. Do join us at 12. I'm Elede Chidima. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Life of people not only in Niger State but also
Still a chance for Ian Robin. It's
Let him shoot, let him shoot. No problem.
Nigeria about to exit second wave of COVID-19. Still on the headline.
Of nursing and midwifery to Edo State College Nursing Sciences as part
with the